In this video, I will explain to you how the French Revolution began and why the people fought against the king. I will also show you how Napoleon came to power and what consequences his rule had for France and Europe. The French Revolution started in 1789 because the people in France were unhappy with their king. Louis XVI lived in luxury while many citizens barely had enough to eat. On top of that were high taxes and unfair laws that made the people angry. The peasants and workers wanted more rights and a better life. On July 14, 1789, angry people stormed the Bastille, a prison in Paris. They saw it as a symbol of oppression by the king. With weapons and courage, they fought against the soldiers. This day is still celebrated as the beginning of the revolution. A few years later, in 1792, the French said, "We don't need a king anymore." They overthrew Louis XVI and made France a republic. This was a huge change because before the king always had the power. Many cheered, but it also became chaotic. From 1793, the so-called Reign of Terror began under Robespierre. He wanted to protect the revolution, but it became brutal. Thousands of people considered enemies were executed by guillotine. Even innocent people feared for their lives. Robespierre went too far, and in 1794, people turned against him. He was arrested and executed by guillotine himself. After that, things calmed down a bit in France. The people no longer wanted such violence. A young soldier named Napoleon Bonaparte became increasingly famous. In 1799, he used the chaos and staged a coup. He declared himself the first consul and later the emperor. Many saw him as a strong leader. Napoleon introduced the Code Civil, a law book that is still important today. It set clear rules for property, family, and rights. This made life easier and fairer for many. He wanted to modernize France. Napoleon was not only a lawmaker but also a war hero. He marched with his army across Europe and defeated many countries. Austria, Prussia, and Italy had to submit to him. France became super powerful. In 1805, Napoleon fought in the Battle of Austerlitz against Russia and Austria. He won with clever tactics and became even more famous. It was one of his greatest victories. His enemies had no chance. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself emperor in a grand ceremony. He wanted to show that he was the most powerful man. Many French people were proud, but others thought he was too arrogant. The crown was a symbol of his power. In 1812, Napoleon made a big mistake. He attacked Russia. The winter was freezing, and his soldiers died from hunger and cold. The Russians even burned their own villages so Napoleon would get nothing. It was a disaster. After the defeat in Russia, Napoleon became weaker. In 1814, his enemies forced him to abdicate. He was sent to the island of Elba, far away from France. His time as ruler seemed over. In 1815, Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France. Many soldiers and citizens supported him again. He took power for 100 days. It was a last attempt to save his empire. At the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, Napoleon lost against England and Prussia. His army was destroyed, and he had no chance left. This time, it was really the end for him. He was defeated and had to give up. After Waterloo, Napoleon's enemies sent him to the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic. He lived there until his death in 1821. He could no longer escape and was completely alone. His great time was over. After Napoleon's fall, France became a monarchy again. Louis XVIII, a brother of the old king, came to power. People were tired of war and wanted peace. It was a time of recovery. Even though Napoleon was gone, the ideas of the revolution remained. Liberty, equality, and brotherhood were now important. Many countries in Europe heard about this and wanted it too. It was a new beginning. Napoleon's wars had shaken Europe, Borders were redrawn and old kingdoms disappeared. New countries like Germany and Italy formed later. It was a time of great change. The guillotine became a symbol of the revolution. It was quick and killed many, including kings. For some, it was justice, for others, cruelty. Today, it reminds us of that wild time. Women played a role, even though they are often forgotten. They marched, demanded bread, and wrote letters. But after the revolution, they hardly gained more rights. That was disappointing for many. Children experienced the revolution up close. Some lost their parents in war or to the guillotine. Others had to grow up quickly to help. It was a hard time for them. In 1789, women marched to Versailles, the king's palace. They were angry about the high bread prices. The king had to return to Paris. It showed how strong the people were. The church lost power during the revolution. Many priests were expelled or killed. The revolutionaries did not want a religion supporting the king. This changed France forever. The revolution brought new celebrations, like July 14th. It is still celebrated in France today. It is a day of pride and freedom. Fireworks and parades are part of it. Napoleon's army was huge and well organized. Soldiers from all over Europe fought for him. He gave them hope for glory and loot, but many died far from home. The wars made trade difficult. France blocked England, but that also hurt its own people. Farmers and merchants had problems. The economy suffered greatly. The revolution and Napoleon influenced art too. Painters showed great battles and heroes. It was a time of pride but also sadness. The works are still famous today. Napoleon built schools and made education possible for more children. He wanted smart citizens for his empire. That was a step forward. Many learned to read and write. Other countries watched the revolution and Napoleon closely. Some feared the ideas would spread to them. Others were excited and wanted to join in. France was in the spotlight. The French Revolution and Napoleon still shaped the world. Democracy and human rights became more important. It was the start of many modern ideas. History was made here.